TVNweather and also executive producer of Tornado Chasers. It's my pleasure to help facilitate this Google Hangout. We have got Reed Timmer, extreme meteorologist and storm chaser.
How are you doing? Happy New Year. Happy 2015. Look forward to joining you today and answering some questions you have about storm chasing and some of our future plans at TVN. Maybe some new Dominators on the horizon, hovercrafts, who knows. We'll answer all your questions here. And we're kind of really trying to build the momentum for our live streaming platform. We're ramping it up in 2015. We want to add more chasers, stream more events, maybe eventually even expand worldwide, who knows. But we need your help. And this is the beginning of our new podcast series. And Seth is responsible for it, right?
That's right.
And Seth here is our producer. He's going to be handling your questions, and he's going to be help guiding us as well. This is a guy who runs everything behind the scenes. He's the backbone of the magic here at Team Dominator. So. And
we've got Sean, too, coming here with probably the coldest temperature of all of us. What's the temperature outside there, Sean, in Melville, Saskatchewan?
We're about -40 right now with the wind chill, so
wow.
It's getting a little warmer compared to the last couple of days.
So
looking forward to coming back to Oklahoma pretty quick here.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it could be some winter weather coming into the Southern Plains, possibly Oklahoma early next week, but definitely won't be 40 below. How's Dominator 3 doing up there?
Pardon me?
How's Dominator 3 doing up there? Is it diesel
Actually,
run 40 below?
We have it in indoor storage right now, and Kevin's coming up here in about 2 weeks, so we're going to start the off-season maintenance on it. So
nice.
We'll have to have a few repairs to do to it. We have a spike that got snapped off in the Coleridge tornado last year. We have to replace that, and a few other things. So a few other minor things.
So, yeah, that Coleridge video is pretty intense. I just deployed that as the #3 most memorable storm chase of 2014, too. #1 was the Buffalo Lake Effect emergency, of course. I've always waited my whole life to chase one of those, so I had to put it in there at #1.
Yeah, well, we see snow every day, but we don't see 7 feet of snow. That's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it was insane, definitely. I mean, there were actually there was 9 feet of snow in spots from Lackawanna to Lancaster, and lots of thunder, lightning. I mean, it's basically like a line of thunderstorms training in off the lake, slamming the same location over and over again with 5 or 6 inch per hour snowfall rates. And out of all the events I've ever chased, that was probably the scariest because, if you go off the road or make a wrong 3-point turn or something, if you're out in those conditions for a long period of time, you could easily die. Whereas at least in a hurricane where the dew point's 80 degrees, you can live in a parking garage for a few days and live off ham sandwiches and stuff. What do you think, Ken?
Oh, it's the storm chaser life. Well, today, though, we want to open it up to you guys. If you have any questions, really no questions off limits. I don't know if we can promise we'll answer them all, but yeah, fire away your questions and we'll be happy to answer. So, Seth, do we have any questions?
Yeah, it looks like we already have one where people are kind of asking about will there be a Kickstarter for a 2015 season of Tornado Chasers? And so maybe right off the bat we should just say, yeah, the gears are turning, but it's definitely too early to talk about any specifics related to that.
We will possibly have some television projects on the future too, at the very least coming up though, right, Seth? And some stuff during storm chasing season. I know, Ken, you've got some ideas brewing over there.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of ideas, guys. Basically, whether it's tornado chasers or it's in another form, there are a lot of things we can't really talk about right now. But there's a lot of activity going on. So stay posted. We'll keep you updated.
And that same person, Joe, also had a question I selected here. Are there any plans for a 4th Dominator?
Ooh. Reed?
There are always plans for a 4th, 5th, 6th, and Dominator. We'll just keep pumping them out as we can. The problem that we have right now is limited resources. We want to make it work with 3 of them. And Dominator 3, we haven't tested its full potential yet. I think we could really put that vehicle to the test. We need to kind of run it into the ground. I mean, the Dominators are like a pair of jeans. you get a new pair of jeans and you don't fully enjoy that pair of jeans until a year or two into it. And that's the same thing with the Dominator. We got to get a couple intercepts with Dominator 3 before we can consider Dominator 4. Do you think, Sean?
I think we had quite a few intercepts last year, but yeah, I think right now we'll just deal with what we got. Keep the 3 Dominators on the road, and like you said, next year we got to put Dominator 3 to the test a little bit more next year. I don't think
Coleridge accomplished our science mission too, because we just found out we got the probes back from the Coleridge tornado, and the data wasn't on there from that intercept, which is pretty frustrating. But at least this year and beyond, we do have some new updates on our scientific probes. That we have a new line of probes coming out this year, so we'll be able to download the data right in the field, and we're even exploring some live streaming data options as well. So that'll be exciting. I think we need to get our science working with the 3 existing Dominators before we start mass producing them.
Well, even though we didn't collect any data from the Coleridge, it wasn't a total failure. Like, we succeeded by getting all 3 probes into it, and with 3 different methods. So that was huge.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can use the Zorro, the cannon, and the ground probe. So.
Definitely, and drones, I think, too, are a thing of the future. I think especially once the laws kind of relax a little bit on being able to fly those. I mean, imagine having a swarm of hundreds of drones going into tornadoes, unmanned drones, while we're intercepting the tornadoes with the Dominators. So you're just adding all those different data points. And the more data points that you have collected inside a tornado, the more science we can do with it. So with 3 Dominators, if we could get mobile radars in those Dominators and all of them shooting probes into the tornadoes, imagine what we could do with that. And that's kind of been the master plan all these years.
Nice. Yeah, if you guys have any ideas for research or things you'd like to see the Dominators do, definitely let us know. I know we always have future plans. So, hey, Seth, any new questions?
Yeah, and it looks like some people are typing questions in the comments over here on the event page. And if you'll, we'll try to get to those too, but it would make things easier if you use the Q&A app that's built into Google Plus here. You'll probably see that over on the left-hand side, I think, but it allows you to actually post a question, so we see it right here. But we'll try to get to all these other questions out here too. But here's one for Reed. Reed, I was wondering whether a warm front, cold front, or dry line setup is typically the most favorable for tornadoes. Also, how might one detect weak fronts, disturbances when looking at forecast models?
Well, the first question, I know which is least favorable, and that's probably the cold front, especially the fast-moving cold fronts. And in order to get tornado-producing supercells, typically you want those storms to move off their initiating boundary. So they form on a dry line or a cold front. If that front or cold air is moving too fast, then it'll catch the storms and undercut their updrafts, and then you instantly get a squall line that's produced. But when you're dealing, that's why with dry lines, typically they're more isolated in. The storms can move off that initiating boundary and into the warm, moist air that it also has the wind shear conducive for tornadoes. But you can also have a heightened tornado potential with warm fronts. But a lot of times, especially early in the spring, warm fronts can be a little grungy. You can have all kinds of stratiform precip everywhere, and that can really limit instability. But if you can get one of those warm fronts where it destabilizes north and south of the boundary, you can get surface winds out of the east, and then those flip around to your low-level jet out of the south or southwest, and you get a lot more wind shear in the low levels. And you can get some really strong tornado setups with warm fronts. Some examples are the Manchester tornado, June 24, 2003. The one up in Canada, how Sean and I came to meet was June 23rd, 2007, up near Pipestone, Manitoba. That was a big-time warm front setup with Cape values like 6,000, wind shear up to 300 helicities, and storm relative helicities. So now those warm fronts can really go nuts, especially later on in the storm season during the high plains and Canadian prairies season. That's when you really get those warm fronts. But I've seen a few tornadoes for warm fronts year-round. Saw another warm front set up December 30th, 2003, which was my only December tornado too. So it could pretty much be any type of frontal boundary as long as the storms can move off that boundary and they're moving faster than it as well. But when you have cold fronts, a lot of times those boundaries are moving a little faster, and the cold air will choke off the storms. from that warm, stable, highly sheared air mass. And the other question you had was, how can you pick up like subtle fronts and jet streaks? And the key really is to just look at radar and surface maps and satellite imagery nonstop for so many setups, and eventually you'll start being able to pick out those little anomalies. And you can look at a surface map and see like a little wind barb that's off, or it might be a surface representation of a little subtle jet streak. And even out in the field, I think especially with the newer generations of storm chasers, we don't use our eyes as much in the field, but you can see a lot of things when you're out there that you can't see with surface obs or even satellite imagery. That'll really help you out in the field. Like you may be able to see some cirrus approaching from the southwest, or see some trends on the towering cumulus, even though it's past peak heating, when there might be an upper level disturbance that's coming in that's cooling those temperatures at cap level. And so really being able to piece together what you see visually to your forecasting ability and meteorological skills, like picking out features in surface maps and satellite imagery. Once you piece all that together, that's when you're rolling on all cylinders.
Nice. Reed, let me follow up on that. What's your opinion on cold core setups? Do you enjoy chasing cold core setups?
Well, if there's a chance in the warm sector, I think if there's a chance for tornadoes, it's really hard for me to pass up the warm sector. But I have chased a few cold core setups, and they're usually tough because you have to just get really lucky and be in the right spot at the right time. And you can forecast a zone or a target area kind of along that occluded boundary, but you still have to get lucky. An updraft has to spin, and it's a little bit hard. It takes a little bit more luck than, I would say, chasing supercell storms in the warm sector. But I know my friend Simon Brewer specializes in cold core setups and those weird kind of hybrid cold core deals. But we'll have to have Simon on here sometime as a guest too. We chased Katrina together. For those that don't know Simon Brewer, back in 2005, we lost his vehicle to the storm surge and had to hitchhike out of there and sleep at some hotels. And then we were off the grid for a few days, and my mom filed a missing persons report. So Simon and I do have a long history too. We'll definitely have to get him on as a guest.
Definitely, and that story was part of your autobiography, Into the Storm, right? So people can read the whole story in your book.
Yeah, the whole Katrina story and many others too. So it was a fun chase.
Nice. Great. Seth, do we have any new questions?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, the one I just selected. Do you all see that?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. Basically, it's BJ's Tech and Weather asks, any tips for becoming a meteorologist? I'm 18 and have no idea where to start besides looking at models and watching radar as storms approach.
Well, Reed, you wanna take this one?
I was thinking you could, Ken. Ken actually graduated like #2 in our class, I think, back in the day, meteorology. So.
He was
the model student. He was the one that was always there on time, usually, unless he was storm chasing, of course. I guess that was kind of
the model meteorology student.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I guess I don't know if he's available live. I'd be interested if he's 18. Is he in college? Is he thinking of going to college? I don't know if we can get that kind of live feedback from him. But of course, one thing to do would be to go to search out meteorology programs if you're very interested. And OU has a great one. I started out at Linden State. They have a really good program, but there are a lot of schools with great programs. And if you really are interested in the science of meteorology, the broader science, not just storm chasing, but the broader science, it's a lot like atmospheric engineering. It's very math intensive. So if you're interested in the science side, be prepared for a lot of physics. But going to school for it's a great way to do it. If you're not as interested in the hardcore science, you can obviously, a lot of people chase storms who are very successful doing it that have never, gone to school for meteorology. So that's another avenue. If you're interested in more of the broadcast side, you could go to school for broadcasting or just work as an intern at a news station and just get to know.
Well, the great thing now, too, is you can just watch all the storm chasing videos online and everything, and that's one luxury that we didn't have, is the ability to just kind of learn on your own. So, if school isn't an option, don't let that prevent you from learning. There's all kinds of online resources, and looking at models and radar is not a bad start either. I mean, that's pretty much defines the first 6 hours of my every day these days too. So. I look at models and radar, and for about at least the first couple hours of every day, especially during storm season. You're always looking at models and watching radar or satellite images, and that, I think, kind of once you start being able to recognize certain patterns and severe weather setups, that could really help. And you got to start somewhere. But going to school, I think, is a great thing to learn the science of meteorology. And some of the best storm chasers I know are not meteorologists, and some of the best forecasters I know don't have that formal training either. But I still think it's important to do both.
Okay, here's another one. Any exciting plans from the science aspects of Team Dominator? And when can we finally call you Dr. Reed?
Well, I'm actually working on my dissertation right now, believe it or not, with the plan of turning it in on Monday. I'm finishing up Chapter 7 right now, which is the last one, and it took a lot longer than it should have. I storm chased way too much. I should have gotten it done first, but just burnt the candle at both ends for a little too long. But now I'm finally going to finish it, and finally about ready to join the real world after 29 straight years of school, nonstop. Almost 40 years old, about to join the real world.
You're not almost 40.
34, but I mean, still relative. It's storm chasing years, I mean, we age a little faster because of the gas station diet and all that. So. Probably about 55 in terms of road experience.
Storm chasing years are like dog years, I guess. So.
Yeah. So what was your favorite storm chase of the last couple of years, Sean? Do you say Bennington or Coleridge?
I remember a couple of years ago, I remember that day when we intercepted the Bennington tornado, and I said, well, we're never going to get that close and as intense tornado as that. And then I honestly didn't think we would. And then last year, we had the Coleridge tornado, and that basically put the Bennington tornado to shame. Really how intense it was, and really how close we got to it. So,
yeah. Well,
that was my number one chase of the year, anyways.
Yeah. Which one was more intense, being on foot in Bennington and almost having the big one? Which you could describe more in detail now if you want from your perspective, or the Coleridge intercept. Which one made the rear end pucker a little bit more?
Well, I tell you what, I found out in Bennington, I never did get my second win trying to run it out on foot. But I'll have to say Coleridge is definitely more intense, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I'd say Bennington was pretty good. Coleridge was definitely intense. I mean, it felt like there was an earthquake as we were closing in on that thing. Like the ground was shaking. But Bennington just being on foot that far away from the Dominator, I think, was kind of a rude awakening. Hey, we built those vehicles for a reason, not to park them next to a tornado and run on foot with a potato gun. Definitely want to stay with the vehicle next time.
We can learn, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're kind of on the same subject, but here's a question: what's the most dangerous experience you had while you were out chasing?
I'd have to say my most dangerous experience was probably Bennington, because that day we didn't have Dominator 3 with us, and I was in our Yukon, the follow vehicle, and all we have on there is basically just the Line-X for protection, and we were fairly close to it, but we kind of were seeing it, we were trying to launch our probe into it, waiting for that last second, and by the time we decided to leave, it was very close. As we got into the vehicle moved over about 1.5 feet towards the tornado, and we got out of there, but that was my most intense time, I'd say.
What do you think, Ken?
I don't know if it's necessarily the most dangerous, but probably the most thrilling for me was May 4th, 2007, Ellis County. We were basically, Reed happened to be driving when we were closing in on this tornado, and we were just going right at it, and the tornado was almost coming right back at. We were intercepting it almost head on, and that was, we couldn't quite tell how fast it was moving. It was just coming right at us, and Reed stopped like right at exactly the right moment so that the tornado would go right in front of the car, and that was. I'm not freaked out by tornadoes. I'm usually really calm, but that was probably the one time I felt like my anxiety went up just a little bit, and And then the first thing Reed did was he got out of the car and he ran around and was shooting the tornado. And Joel was there and he was going crazy, like, Reed, you got to get back. We got to get out of here. And Reed was just there, and he just looked at home, and I was just like, wow, I don't know. Are we going to leave Reed here? He looks very happy. So, but it was that was very intense. It was a small tornado. It was an intense tornado, but it was very small. So, not the May 31st El Reno tornado. We were out in the circulation for a little while, but so looking back on it, it was kind of a thrilling experience. But I'd say the Ellis County tornado of 2007 for me was the most thrilling.
And
Reed?
Seth was actually at El Reno too, where
Yes.
Seth, he was in the back seat when we slammed against those power lines going full speed, and the power lines wrapped around the light unit on the front. So I had to put the car in reverse, and it removed the hood, and it shot into the tornado like a slingshot. And of course, Seth was freaking out. I just had to tell him, "Hey, Seth, calm down." He lost his cool there. Then we took off and kept chasing. I'm just kidding. Seth actually handled it like a pro. But yeah, for one of your first tornado intercepts, the 2.6 mile wide tornado must have been a little intimidating, right, Seth?
Yeah, that was definitely a dangerous experience, I'd say. I mean, on a lot of levels. Not only the fact we got caught in those power lines, but we also almost got caught up in some flooding in central Oklahoma City.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 feet of water, and we're looking out there, and it looked like Hurricane Katrina. Actually, with like 80 or 90 mile an hour winds, you just saw 2 or 3 feet of water off in the distance, right? And
yeah, the problem was we couldn't see anything. We could only see like maybe 5 feet, out, and basically we took a wrong turn on one of the streets. We could have, got caught up in a flash flood.
Sean had the fender bender too. Remember putting it in reverse? It made contact with the BMW there, but.
Yeah, that's when you know it's time to shut it down in a storm chase, when you have zero visibility and you don't even realize you're in a parking lot and you hit a BMW.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what car it is, really. But at least the BMW he's probably going to be more upset about it than. I mean, we've had people hit the Dominators and they're all scared and everything, and they get out and we're like, oh, don't worry about it. Just cause a little scratch. Because dents for storm chasers are normally trophies. I mean, usually they come from hail and stuff, but you have to be able to handle a little scratch or a dent a lot more easily, I think, in this line of work.
One of the most interesting things I think of looking through hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of footage, like for the series Tornado Chasers, is you get to see everyone's reaction. And everyone has a different expression on their face, like in those intense, like Sean will be like intense, and Reed will be like looking around, and then our shooter Chris Whiteneck will be smiling, and it's really fun to see how everyone reacts in those situations. But yeah, we've been in a number of very dangerous places.
Another common question seems to be what programs and websites that you use for chasing. Thinking about radar, like GR level 3 and stuff like that. Reed, you want to take that?
Yeah. Well, we use GR level 3 a lot of times, and then put our GPS location overlaid on the radar map as well, so you can see your position relative to the storm. But honestly, with smartphones and everything now, you can navigate, you can have your GPS location on there, and you can do a lot even just with smartphones now. But usually I have a laptop running with GR Level 3 and also Microsoft Streets and Trips for navigation, and then also looking at model output, and you're constantly reading the surface maps and looking at that type of data as well. So you've got your laptop in the middle that has the navigation and the radar, and then also a laptop to look at the forecast information and to also post on Facebook and Twitter when the warnings happen too, because there's a lot of people that depend on that information.
Nice. I'm going to answer some questions from Twitter. Here's one that's kind of humorous. How many times have you missed tornadoes in your own backyard?
Ooh.
I guess it's directed towards everybody here.
What was that again?
Yeah, it happens a lot.
You cut out a little bit there, Steph. Can you repeat that question?
How many times have we missed tornadoes in our own backyards?
Oh boy, yeah. Lots of times, right? I mean, pretty much whenever a tornado comes within 2 miles of my house, it seems like we miss it. And we'll end up driving all the way to Nebraska or South Dakota or something a lot of times. And I think that first one started in May 8, 2003, right, Ken, when we did the 2 360s going down the road at 80 miles an hour?
Yep. That was quite a day. Yeah, that's we were up in Kansas, and who called you? Was it Sean Walker? Basically, we had missed everything. We did no, this was before we did the 2 360s. We basically got word that there was a tornado warning for Amber, Oklahoma, and we were in Kansas. And I just remember, and that's actually in Tornado Glory, if you've ever seen that. Reed just like getting the news, and it's kind of heartbreaking, when you drive so long and you miss it, and that's what happened that day. So we basically tried to get to I think some cells around Kansas City. Reed, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, there was a lot of flooding, and we ended up hydroplaning. This was before the Dominators. Joel was driving. Luckily, he did a great job driving. The vehicle did 2 360s on the road, and we came out going straight. But that was actually I'd add that to my own personal dangerous experience as well.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That next to rolling the vehicle in the sewage ditch too on May 12th. Before we were chasing with Ken, and we were in 2 separate vehicles, and we left to go scope out another storm, and we were trying to get back to the storm. We rolled the car in a sewage ditch. We were up to our neck in mud that smelled like fecal matter. It was actually sewage, and then Ken actually didn't leave with us. He didn't even know we left, and saw like 10 tornadoes that we missed. So that was definitely a rude awakening there too.
And then we had to later on we got a call that the car had flipped, and Harold Peterson, Kelly Peterson, and I we left, and we were thinking of driving home, and we got a call that their car had flipped, and they were trapped in this tornado-warned county. It was nighttime. They were blocking off the roads, and we had to mount a rescue to go get them. It was pretty thrilling. Yeah, and it was still putting down tornadoes, and we didn't know what we were driving into. So yeah, that was kind of
tornado warnings well after dark on that one, and there were training storms too, all kinds of flooding again in that situation, and it was kind of a surprise setup too. Remember, Ken? I think that the models didn't show as much strong low-level shear, and then the low-level jet started cranking right after sunset. Remember, and those things started ripping. I mean, the low-level jet was under forecast by like 50 knots, I think, right?
Right, and there was a strong cap, but a lot of experienced storm chasers decided to stay home, including Joel, I think, for a while.
Actually, we were at Valentine the day before, and I had to drop Joel off at home because he refused to go. I tried to convince him. I was pleading with him, and that's a regret, I think. But, yeah, we probably still would have ended up in the sewage ditch, so Joel might have quit storm chasing after that.
That's true. But if you guys, one thing I want to make sure that we cover too is that if you guys love weather, if you love watching the live stream, I know a lot of you have probably seen this on TVNweather.com. It allows you to basically ride in any vehicle that's out there that has a camera. You can click on it, on its current GPS location, see the video with radar overlay. A lot of you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the most revolutionary ways to experience storm chasing and also visually see the dangers that are impacting certain areas. We have an Indiegogo right now, and we need to raise money for it for this year. It's been an amazing tool. Reed, Seth, do you guys want to talk about that some more?
Yeah, we're definitely planning on ramping up our live streaming system on the Dominators this season too. I know, Seth, you're going to help us out a lot with that to get that fired up so we can stream live as we're intercepting tornadoes too. And if we have all 3 Dominators out in the field, we'll have icons for all of those, and I think that the future is this live streaming network, and we'd like to grow it to other countries. And hopefully, if there's a severe thunderstorm or a tornado, especially in Tornado Alley or in the U.S., it'd be great if it would never go unlive stream. Important too in the warning process. Imagine being in the path of these storms. You can use your smartphone or log into your computer and see what's happening in real time. So if there's a tornado getting streamed live from the Dominators or our network of hundreds of storm chasers, and a lot of times you'll take that tornado warning more seriously. And I think live streaming video is definitely the future of storm reporting. And it's just fun to watch us drive into tornadoes live in the spring. And I know it's not cheap to keep this this thing going, which Seth can speak a lot more on. But we definitely need your help, and all our loyal supporters. We couldn't have intercepted all these tornadoes, or even have the Dominators in the field, or produced our seasons of tornado chasers if it weren't for you. And we're really trying to take it to the next level on the live streaming front.
So go ahead, Seth.
Okay, and I was just gonna, and it's important also to realize that this isn't, it isn't just about us. It's this is a platform that allows, hundreds of chasers. I think we're up to 100 or 240 around there. 240, independent storm chasers to share their, their chases with everyone. So it's, it's really not a. It's not just it's not us chasing. It's really it's funding a platform that allows all these chasers to stream on it, including us as well. But we do have incredible amount of viewership. I think last year we had a peak throughput I think of around 8 gigabits per second of video. So we operate. It's a tremendous. We operate on this huge scale that's very expensive, for live when it comes to live video. I mean, video in itself is a little more, expensive, but live video is more expensive because you have to have specialized streaming servers, and we're doing it the cheapest way we can, which requires a lot more time investment. But even then, it's just a matter of, you can only you have to have the money to lease those dedicated servers, and we need tons of them. And it's and then also the software licenses and stuff that for the streaming software that has to run on each server. It adds up to a pretty high cost, and so we're estimating that I think for 2014 or 15 we estimate the cost to be around $40,000 total, and that's for all the things we use, which mostly goes towards like those dedicated servers for streaming.
And so, you guys, if you've enjoyed watching our live streams in the past, if this is something you would enjoy, or you agree with us that this is revolutionary and everyone can make use of this in a good way, please consider being a backer. We'd be very grateful, but more than that, there are all kinds of cool rewards. And Seth, where can they go if people are interested in backing this particular project?
Yeah, you could go to Indiegogo, and it's TVNweather live storm chasing on there. I just posted a link just now on the Google Plus event page. So you should be able to see that. Of course, we have, if you go to our homepage, TVNweather.com, there's a link to it on there. That's an easy way to get to it. But yeah, it's really easy. I mean, you can just contribute $1. Or I mean that's a pretty good value, or even just $5. That's still still under 50 cents a day. I mean a month. So just do what you can. You can use PayPal too, and it's just kind of a nice service. We'd like to keep going, but we need your help to do that.
And we sometimes we're kind of modest, but this is the most advanced, largest platform of this kind in the world, and we're running it. Isn't that right? I mean, it's pretty amazing that we've been able to kind of put this together and run it, and we thank you guys for being such a great part of it, and we need to keep going in 2015. It gets more important every year. More people rely on it every year. So
yeah, this is definitely one of our master plans. I mean, we started off just with a couple of feeds. I think we were back in 2006 when we first started live streaming. It was just from our vehicle, well before the times of the Dominators, and now with Seth doing the programming, we've grown it to over 200 chasers. How many chasers do we have now officially, Seth?
I think 240 last time, and they're located. Some are in Europe, a lot in Canada, a lot in the U.S., spread out all over the U.S. East Coast, West Coast, north, south. Yeah, a few, and I think a couple in the UK. There's people even in Europe that travel here to, to Tornado Alley during storm season. They stream with us. There's a couple teams in Denmark that do that. There's a team in UK that does that as well. and actually a new team from I think from Portugal and Italy, that are they're coming over here to during storm season. They're going to stream with us as well.
That'll be fun, definitely. And with the way things are going in Europe too, we need to get them to stream out there. I mean, there's all kinds of water spout action there this fall. That'd be awesome if we had a live stream set up out there, but you never know. And with the future, with drones, maybe streaming from the air. I mean, the sky's really the limit for this thing too. I know we've been planning for the future, kind of in terms of that, but it's really going to be fun. The live look that you can get on storms and tornadoes, and the thing is that you can't be on 2 storms at once or be on multiple tornadoes at the same time. That's why having this network of storm chasers is so important. And it's crazy to watch the outbreaks unfold when you have the tornadoes all the way from the northern plains down to the Gulf Coast, and you just have hundreds of chasers on every single storm. And that's when it's great to watch in real time, and definitely serves its purpose in terms of keeping people warned in the path of these storms.
So thank you guys, and Seth, do we have any more questions?
Oh yeah, we have a lot. Let's see if we can get to these. Looking at here's a climate-related question that what does Reed feel the upcoming season is going to be like with the patterns that we've been seeing in El Nino? And before you answer that, there's another one that was let's see here. Just lost it. Oh, is the El Nino starting to be firmly in place, or is it diminishing? So kind of 2 related questions there.
I think that a weak El Nino, borderline El Nino, probably even more neutral in place out there. Looking at the subsurface, you can still see above normal temperatures. You see positive anomalies. So I think that'll at least be it won't be a crazy El Nino. It'll definitely be a weak one if it materializes, but at the very least it'll result in a stronger than normal subtropical jet stream, which we've kind of been wavering between this Pineapple Express pattern and the ridge trough pattern, which is more characteristic of what was called the polar vortex last year especially, but it seems like the climate system oscillates between an El Nino-like pattern and then this a ridge trough pattern, which is why you get really cold temperatures east of the Rockies. And I think a lot of that's because there's some warm water in the North Pacific, and if that continues, then we'll have a severe weather season like the last 3, which are relatively below normal. But I have a feeling that the waters in the North Pacific should start to cool a little bit, and with that stronger than normal subtropical jet in the spring, you should get troughs digging west of the western U.S., which would mean a more active storm season in the Great Plains starting earlier than normal. More reminiscent of a 2007 type season. So those are kind of my thoughts on the upcoming severe weather this spring.
And let me see here. Some good questions here. Some people are asking if there's a dead body on your couch, Reed.
Well, I should probably move it that way a little bit. Yeah, that's Maria taking a nap. Right now, she has to work some crazy hours, starting up really early in the morning. She usually wakes up around 3 in the morning, and then we'll take a few-hour nap here in the middle of the day. So she's good at tuning out, distractions like me, I think. So she can nap pretty well. Go out storm chasing on the road. She can go to sleep anytime she wants. But
what's your opinion about unmanned aerial vehicles for chasing?
I think it's really exciting. I'd love to have a swarm of quadcopters and drones, ground-based and aerial, heading toward tornadoes, because I think the more data points, the better. And in addition to just intercepting tornadoes with the Dominators at the ground, having all those data points aloft would be fun. And the video would be insane. I mean, imagine the video from a swarm of drones heading into a tornado. That'd be pretty exciting. If you could recover them, because from experience, we know that recovering these probes or drones that we launch into tornadoes can be really difficult.
Reed, have you felt put off at all by, we've struggled for years with these quadcopters and we keep trying to put them out. Have you been put off at all by the process of trying to launch quadcopters or other aerial drones? Or do you think that'll change kind of going to the future with new technologies, better quadcopters, that kind of thing?
I think it's fun to launch anything really. Whether it be a model rocket or a quadcopter, or I think it's fun, and you have multiple teams too that we chase with. So you might have people that are more into launching drones that can focus on that, whereas maybe we focus on intercepting the tornadoes and the dominators a lot more. So you really got to work together. I think teamwork is key out there. We'd like to have a fleet of drones, each with live streaming video. I think that'd be key without getting letters in the mail from the FAA all the time. So.
Okay.
Hello.
Let's see.
We'll try to keep our voices down if Maria's taking a nap as well. So we don't want to wake her up.
Sean, is yours on mute right now? Hello?
I think it might be.
I think it was. Okay.
Oh,
It's good to know.
there we go.
Okay.
Sean, what are your thoughts? Do you enjoy
Get a little quiet over there.
Sean, do you enjoy the quadcopters? What do you think about continuing to work with them in the future?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with the quadcopters a little more in the future. I know we got into it a little bit a couple years ago, and that was really my first year with them. So fairly inexperienced with them, so we didn't have a whole lot of luck. And but I actually just ordered a set of 12 of them this year, about a couple of days ago, and so hopefully we can get some probes in with those.
Nice. Yeah, from a video perspective, aerial probes are very exciting. Many possibilities for some great photography. But Seth, do we have a new question?
Yeah, here's one. Can you explain a hydrometer classification for radar?
This would be a question for Reed, I think.
Sorry, what was the question, Seth?
They're asking if you could explain hydrometer classification for radar.
It's not really my expertise, but I would think probably what classifying between different types of scatterers, would you say, like debris versus reflectivity, things like that, like the new correlation coefficient type products that they have out there that are so important. I think that they're really important out in Dixie Alley, especially when you can't get eyes in the storms as much, and you have a lot of rain-wrapped tornadoes that are embedded in squall lines. You can use those other products to see if there's debris getting lofted up. And so a lot of times you'll see the couplet kind of descend from higher tilts down toward lower levels. And then once it's on the ground, then you'll start seeing the indications of other scatterers getting lofted, like debris fields, which are always really scary when you see those debris balls on radar. But that's about my limit, really, on interpreting radar data. And
here's an end of the storm question, and no, it's not talking about your book. It's actually talking about the movie. When the protagonist gets sucked into the F7 and tops out at 60,000 feet, what was your reaction?
I felt kind of bad. I started laughing, actually, when I was watching it. Wasn't sure if I should feel bad or if it was supposed to be a joke or not, but I thought there was somehow he was going to pull through. I'm definitely an optimist like that, so I thought maybe he'd pull a parachute, throw that or something out, and then be fine. But and then I started getting concerned for his temperature, at that altitude. The tops of storms are starting to glaciate big time, so it's pretty unrealistic. Obviously, I think we can all agree on that.
It was pretty unrealistic. One thing that I thought was that at least it kind of gave you a little bit of wish fulfillment, like, if you'd ever dream of being able to be in that position or sail up and go high in the atmosphere. It was on that level, kind of, not in a realistic level, but, I thought it was kind of fun. It was over the top, but it was kind of fun. But
I wish you would have pulled a parachute or something, but, yeah. I thought the special effects of the movie were pretty good. That's about it, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more character development. I think that anytime you see a storm chasing movie, you're hoping for Twister 2. So I think that would have been fun. But the good thing is that we still got the next Twister 2 to look forward to, I think. I mean, they definitely focus on the special effects in this movie.
Yeah, they seem to have kind of used some familiar tornadoes, didn't they, Reed? Maybe as a basis.
It was weird watching the movie because you kind of half recognize some of the tornadoes, but you couldn't really pinpoint a day that it was from, and you kind of see characteristics from a bunch of different tornadoes you've seen in all your videos and individual tornadoes. That was weird. I'm actually trying to get Kevin to join the Google Hangout. I can't get a hold of him because they're getting a big winter storm up there in Grand Rapids where he is. I want to get a snow update. I actually grew up in Grand Rapids, so I'm following this Alberta pretty closely because I'm so obsessed with lake effect snow. It looks like they could get a foot of snow up in southwest lower Michigan, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. So if anybody is up in southwest lower and you want to post some pictures and video of the snow in the morning, be sure to post them to my Facebook or Twitter account. I'd love to see them. I'll share them too.
So Reed, I have a question for you. The
Oh,
last two storm seasons you predicted like right to a T. What's your prediction for this year?
I think it'll be above normal for the southern plains and starting a little earlier. I think April, probably early May, will be active again in the southern plains. The panhandles will get going again. Northwest Texas. But I think that it'll be pretty active early on like that. I think we'll have a couple Dixie Alley chases too, probably in March, maybe in early April. So I bet it'll be about closer to average, more in terms of tornado numbers than we've had the last 3 years, just because of the anticipated overactive subtropical jet. I think we'll get some good southern plains setups this year. Hopefully all the tornadoes, though, stay out over open country and miss everybody.
So what
then
do
we
you think
can intercept it too.
About northern plains in Canada? Average, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's still probably too far out to tell, but I think that maybe if 2007 is any indication of what might happen in Canada, I think we might get a couple good setups up there. I think that the moisture transport should be good up there, but you're starting to look at June and July kind of with northern plains into Canada, so we'll probably be able to tell a little closer to spring there. But I want to get back up into Canada and chase, though. It's one of my favorite places to go. You saw the top 10, the Outlook Saskatchewan video from May. Was it number 11 or number 12, I think, in the top 15? It was up there. It's so photogenic, the storms are up in Canada. That's why it's so fun to chase up there. But
yeah, I love chasing in Canada, Saskatchewan. You got roads every mile, a half a mile, and it's just you can see as far as the eye can see. You have data everywhere. You don't have to worry about data. Love
How did
chasing
the Saskatchewan Rough Riders end up doing this year?
Not too well. No, we lost our starting quarterback about halfway through, and no, it didn't go too well. So
did they end up making the playoffs, or?
Yeah, they made it to playoffs, but they lost first game. So they lost first round of playoffs.
Nice.
Better luck next year.
Here's a question. What type of glass is best to resist hail and mild debris?
I think it's best to go with the polycarbonate. More of the Lexan windshield, I think, is probably the best for debris and stuff like that, tree branches and 2x4s. But if you're looking for glass, I don't know. I think that if you get hit by debris or big hailstones, you're probably looking to shatter. Sean, what do you think? You're definitely more of an expert on that.
We use the Lexan in the Dominators, and that seems to deflect the debris the best. We did look at actual real bulletproof glass, but the problem with that is if you get like large hail, like grapefruit-sized hail, it's not going to penetrate the glass, but it's still going to shatter it. So then we'll have to replace it anyway. So we stick with the Lexan, and so far it's been well.
I miss having regular glass, though. Back in the day when you punch through a hail core and you get the big softball just spidering up the whole windshield, I do kind of miss that sense of excitement. But it'll end your chase. That's the problem. Is you can be punching through a core and blow out the windshield, and bam, the chase is over. So at least with the polycarbonate, Lexan, we don't have to worry about that as much. Remember when we destroyed Joel's car back in 2006, Ken?
I do. Those were the glory days.
And a hailstone even hit at the joint, or that little crease, where the windshield meets the hood. a massive hailstone came in, you saw all this plastic and metal just fly everywhere, and it disrupted the air conditioning unit. It was spitting out a foul odor and making a weird noise after that, and had to put up some saran wrap over the windshield and drive home that way. So it was fun.
Do you miss those days, Reed? Do you miss those days before the Dominators, where you're in these vehicles that didn't have, say, Lexan and kind of the latest technology?
I miss them, but it doesn't. Definitely not enough to go back to those days. It's good to be intercepting tornadoes and having the technology to attach a number to our intercept. You know, it's one thing just to say, oh, the wind was strong, you know, but to attach a number to it, that's what it's all about.
Here's a question I see kind of occurring a few times. People are basically wanting to know, you know, what's advice for someone who's seeking to attend college for meteorology, and what type of schools, and you know, just general advice, you know, to get them set on the right path.
Well, there are a bunch of good schools for meteorology. I know even where I came from in Michigan, you know, Central Michigan University and University of Michigan have atmospheric sciences programs. University of Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue. Maria went to Florida State, which is a really good university, especially for tropical meteorology. Miami University, there's Texas A&M, Kansas University. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch in the Northeast too that Ken would be more familiar with. Linden State College, I know up there.
Linden State, yep. Cantori went there. A lot of Weather Channel people went to Linden State.
It's a really good broadcast meteorology school, right? Up there.
Yeah, it's an excellent. It's actually in some ways. I loved my experience at OU, but Linden State's fantastic at just broad general understanding of weather and forecasting. Really, they do a great job at preparing you to be sort of an operational meteorologist. So OU is fantastic for preparing you for the theory and being an amazing research meteorologist. So.
The key, too, is that you really don't have to know exactly what you want to do. If you're passionate and you love weather, then it'll all fall into place. So you shouldn't be too stressed out if you don't know exactly what you want to do with your degree or anything. And if people tell you there aren't a lot of jobs in weather, they're definitely wrong. There are all kinds of jobs in the private sector and the National Weather Service and television. And you could start your own thing or storm chase, or the sky's really the limit. If you're passionate about something, you definitely take it all the way. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, and be open, like just in general when you're looking at college, like if we're talking to a lot of people who are thinking of going to college, I don't know. It's sort of like a lot of people I know, most people change what their focus is during college. So I'd say go to a great college. You can start by looking at meteorology, but be open. A lot of people start in meteorology and go over to broadcast, or start in meteorology and they might go to engineering. And it doesn't mean that you're less interested in weather if you change from that, but it's a great time to be open and feel out what you want to do. So, but be ready for math. So be ready for math and physics if you want to do meteorology.
Yeah, there's a lot of math in it, but don't let that scare you away either. I mean, I like to look at the math kind of like a language, that you'll learn that describes the atmosphere. I think that mathematics kind of describe all the motions that happen in there and everything. It's kind of like you're learning a new language. And it's an easier language to learn than most of the other ones, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, some people are asking how can they stream with us? As you may have noticed, we don't really advertise that on the website because we probably get flooded with a lot of people wanting to stream. But if you're a storm chaser and you have the experience and you have like an internet presence, you have videos on YouTube and stuff like that, then yeah, definitely contact us through the contact form. And you have to have the equipment as well, to stream. But yeah, we take anyone who's an experienced storm chaser, or and has the equipment, to stream. That's pretty much how it goes. I mean, we don't advertise it on there, but yeah, it's a free service. And again, that goes back to what we're trying to raise funds for. It's that platform. It's a free service we provide to chasers. We don't make anything off of it, and we just that's why we have this Indiegogo going on right now to raise funds for it. So if you just go to our website, TVNweather.com, and there's a link on there to go to the Indiegogo project, and you can contribute there. Just whatever you can do, $1, $5, you can do it through PayPal even.
What happens if we don't hit our goal, Seth? Is that big problems or?
Well, this
I'll
is
bet that happen, but.
Yeah, this Indiegogo project is set up as a flexible funding campaign, so we keep whatever we raise, even if we don't hit our goal. However, if we don't hit our goal, the fee that Indiegogo takes goes up, from 5% to 9%. And also, of course, it might mean that we won't have enough funds to meet the kind of traffic that we're expecting for this year. So you can easily create a streaming site without without too many funds. You could just run it on a single server. But what happens is during those peak times when we have lots of viewers, you need to be able to handle that, and one server gets maxed out very quickly. Sure. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, you can easily run a streaming site like that, but to handle a lot of throughput, you need multiple servers working in a edge origin configuration, like a load balance setup, so that load's spread out. So and that's kind of one thing we've always tried to do right, was to be able to handle the traffic. So we don't want it like there's a big event and all of a sudden only 1,000 people can watch it, and that's it, So we've kind of designed a system, that allows a lot of people to watch, but that also comes with a great cost.
What are some of our top numbers, Seth, of people who've watched during a big event, like at any one time or on any one day? Like, it's been increasing over the past few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was one day. I'd have to look again, but I think there was one day where at one time we had, getting close to I think we had like 50,000.
Wow.
It's possibly more than that. I know we've had 25,000 on a single stream. And there was tons of other streams going on at the same time. But in terms of like data, I think we've reached, we got close to 8 gigabits per second, of live video data at one time. Which is pretty incredible. And this year, we expect that to be even more. So the growth we're anticipating for this year, we expect to be able to handle a capacity of 14 or 15 gigabits per second.
And with our streamers, we've also recently implemented kind of a warning system, right? Through Twitter, like if there's a chaser out there, they can relay and describe specific conditions that they're experiencing, GPS coded, right?
Yeah, we have a new feature that basically integrates with the chaser's Twitter account. So if they post a tweet with a certain hashtag and they're also streaming at that same time, then we'll place that tweet on the map. So it's kind of nice because a lot of times these chasers are moving around and there's a hazard or something like down power lines or or debris blocking the road, and they've already moved on. So if you're coming onto the site, you're not going to see that. But so with this, it will persist an image and some text on the map, and basically the embedded tweet, and you can see that at any time during that whole chase during that day.
Yeah. So guys, if you you can see just like how we want to make sure we have this available to everyone. It's a free service. We want it available to as many people as possible, and we need your help to raise the money. If we don't hit our goal, there's a possibility that on those big days when it really matters, we might be limited in the number of people that can watch and experience these streams. So if you've watched these live streams before or are looking forward to watching them in 2015, we want you to please please consider backing us at any level that you can manage, from $1 all the way. I think we've had a few $1,000 backers, and you get a special reward at the $1,000 level. So I think that's a one-on-one Skype with you, Reed.
Yeah, it is, and plus all the other stuff, you know, below that. And one thing is one person who did, you know, pledge for the $1,000 level actually contacted us and asked to donate his Skype session to an aspiring meteorologist or somebody. So we're going to talk with him a little more once the campaign ends and try to figure out a way to facilitate that. But basically, he just wants to give it away. He wants some, you know, perhaps like a you know, aspiring meteorology student or storm chaser to donate his Skype session with Reed to that person.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I look forward to talk with anybody that that donates as well. I mean, I love talking about weather, all kinds of weather, storm chasing, you name it, lake effect. I love all kinds of meteorology, and actually all sciences too, like the life sciences, earth sciences, anything. So we want to talk about sports. Detroit Lions, they should have beaten Dallas last weekend, but it's a little upsetting.
Here's a question. What are the job requirements to become a storm chaser?
Well, the great thing about storm chasing really is anyone can do it, but it's also kind of scary too, because if you don't have the experience level and don't know what you're doing out there, it could also be really dangerous, because you're chasing down some of the most, you know, deadly severe weather phenomena on the planet. So it's very important to know what you're doing out there, and I think a great way to get started is going to some Skywarn training courses at your local National Weather Service to kind of gain the basics of storm structure and severe weather forecasting. And another great way is just to go to school for meteorology and start storm chasing as a hobby and going with people that know what they're doing. And another great way too is you can get a storm chasing tour as well. We run a company, Extreme Tornado Tours, where you can also go on a storm chasing tour, learn from people that know what they're doing. So when you go out there on your own, you know, you don't get yourself in a dangerous spot. But there are no requirements officially for going out there and storm chasing, but it's very important to know what you're doing out there.
Okay, here's another question. I'll select it. Do you still keep in touch with Sean Casey? Do you ever plan to work together?
No, I mean we don't keep in touch too much. Not at all, actually, and there are no plans of working together in the near future, but you never know. You don't want to rule anything out, so.
But you guys are on good terms, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have great terms with Sean. So yeah, we've always respected what he had going on with the IMAX film and everything, and I know his film is great, and I'm sure he's got some plans up his sleeve too. I know I've heard rumors of a storm surge hurricane chasing vehicle that Sean might be building, but yeah, we've always been on good terms, aside from a little competitive energy on storm chasers, of course.
Do you keep in touch with anyone else from those storm chasers days? Anyone else from the show?
Yeah, Joel I do all the time. Aaron Rupert from the Scout vehicle. Chris Whiteneck, our shooter, of course. We're probably going skiing, I think, at the end of this month. So I keep in touch with him a lot. But that's about it. But I mean, all the people I storm chase with, you know, like Dick McGowan and Mike Scantlin and Connor and all those guys, you know, and Kevin, of course, building the Dominators. I mean, we're all still working together. So it was only a couple years ago. So I mean, we still, you know, a lot of us still hang out. But there are some of us that don't keep in touch too, and there's definitely good reason for that.
Here's another one. In terms of long and short term, what are the best models for forecasting? Elliot Budd asked that.
Well, I think that you know, right now the Euro model too is probably the best for kind of the mid to long range type forecasting. But for severe weather forecasting, the really short range, there's a lot of high res models out there like the HRRR, and there's the RAP, of course, which I think is good for for the dry line type setups. And then I think it's also important to use more of the wave models though, like the GFS for especially the warm frontal setups, and maybe those setups where there's not a lot of OBS upstream, like up in Canada too. I like to use a lot more of the wave-based models like the GFS. The NAM model, of course, is still pretty dependable for the short to medium range. But I'm not like a guru either on the models. There's those people that know every single high-res model with all its microphysics and the parameterizations and all that and resolutions. But I basics and I enjoy looking at them, of course. But yeah, there's all kinds of new models that are out there, and they're always getting better. But I think that the U.S. our models are lagging a little bit behind the Euro right now. But I think that there are some plans to boost our numerical model forecasts here in the U.S. too.
Why do you think it's lagging, Reed? Is it we're not putting the computing resources into more refined models, or just that the theory behind it's dragging, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know those specifics exactly. It's just something I've been seeing on TV, of course, and doing a little bit of research. But I think that we're going to fix that a little bit. It's probably because of funding or maybe lags in development. Maybe just right now the Euro happens to be doing better, but it looks like they are changing things and putting more funding and development into newer models. But I'm happy with the models the way they are too. But you can always get more accurate forecasts. So.
Here's another one. It's what's the strangest storm you've ever chased? Tornado speaking, or how it traveled, etc. I'm assuming they're limiting it to just tornadoes, but I mean, I guess you could include both. You could include hurricanes as well.
I'd say one of the most unusual ones was probably the Buffalo Lake effect event. I mean, seeing 9 feet of snow in one location, and it was almost like a tornado damage path too. You just had this wall of white that you couldn't even get through. You couldn't drive from north to south through that lake effect snowband, and as you get closer to it, you'd see all the emergency vehicle lights just flashing everywhere, and you knew that the band was there. And then suddenly traffic was crippled, and you had vehicles with 10 feet of snow, sometimes 15 feet of snow on top of them. And the day after, we were walking on top of 5 or 6 feet of packed down snow, and you look down and you realize that you're walking the level above the vehicles on top of packed snow, which was pretty crazy.
Do you remember, Reed? Do you remember the only anticyclonic funnel of 2003?
I do. That thing was definitely crazy. Yeah, that was an unusual one. But it sounds like you remember that one a lot more, Ken.
No, it was a strange day. It was much earlier in our storm chasing careers, but yeah, I had the supercell, and I can't remember exactly what the setup was that day, but all the features were essentially turned. I can't remember how everything was set up, but it was really LP. It was just this long rain-free base, and it was completely different from any other storm I had seen, and we just stuck on it for a while, and then all of a sudden there was this anticyclonic funnel that started to come down, and that was the first anticyclonic funnel I'd ever seen. It was just very very strange.
You're talking about that really high base one, right? With like 5,000 or 6,000 cape and relatively weak shear, and it had that little filament.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Probably the smallest tornado I think I've ever seen.
Yep. Yeah, it was strange. Those were fun days.
Oh yeah. Computer is frozen up on this end. Is my video feed still making it through?
Yeah, it's good.
Good deal. Let's let it ride then.
What is the biggest tornado you've ever intercepted in the Dominator?
Probably the El Reno tornado, and we were definitely in the outer circulation of that. The El Reno one was probably about 2.6 miles wide, and we were right in the northwest side of that circulation when we ran into the power lines. I know Sean was driving, so being able to pull out of that situation must have been pretty intense. But did you expect that type of impact when you hit the power lines there, Sean?
I actually had no time to react. I just remember driving, and pretty much we had almost zero visibility. You could see like 5 feet in front of us, and I just remember seeing the power line going across, and 1 second later we we hit it, and I actually thought we were going to go right through it, but we came pretty much to a dead stop. And I just remember, getting tangled up in it and going back and forth trying to loosen ourselves, and all of a sudden the hood went flying into the tornado, and we were free.
We were never able to find the hood again either, but it definitely solved our overheating problems. We don't have to worry about that at least.
It did.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it yet, episodes 11 and 12 of season 2 of Tornado Chasers are all about the El Reno day, and you'll see all of that. That was an insane day, for sure.
Another weird event was probably the Frankenstorm, I'd say, Superstorm Sandy. Connor and I went out there and chased that one, but the blizzard portion on the northwest side of that. So we were in the mountains of West Virginia, and whenever we'd go above about 1,500 feet, we just got hammered by snow, and there's probably 30 or 40 inches of snow accumulation from that. And when the power lines went down, it just illuminated the whole entire sky. So you kept seeing the transformers blow, and it smelled kind of like a hurricane outside. It was really tropical and smelling, but still very cold and cold enough for snow. And it was very wet snow, like concrete, and so all the trees were snapping. And at night when we go up in the mountains, you could just hear the trees snapping all around off in the distance from the weight of the snow. And also the wind. I mean, the winds were 60, 70, 80 miles an hour with that thing too. So that was a weird weather feature I forgot to mention.
So Seth, how many days left do we have in this Indiegogo campaign?
I believe we have 10 days left.
Okay.
Yeah, we're let's see here, 23% of the way there.
23%?
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll ramp up here in the last 10 days. I guess we'll be churning out a lot of podcasts, won't we?
Oh, here's one that's been asked a couple times. Here, I'll select it. There any word on the release date of the storm chasing video game you're working on?
Huh.
Well, for one thing, we're not actually working on that. It's another company, and the game is called StormQuest. But we have heard from them, and I don't think there's a word on the release date yet. But I think it is still something that's in the works. So it's not dead at this point, at least. Right? I guess that's fair to say.
Yeah, it's still definitely going on. So I know it recently requested some images of the Dominator too, so that's definitely in the works. And there's all kinds of exciting projects we got going on for 2015 and on. But
actually, one question I'd love to throw out to everyone watching is if you want to, I don't know, message us or post on Reed's account if you're interested in sort of storm chasing or weather themed games, not necessarily video games, but maybe board games or card games, like good quality kind. If you're interested in that kind of thing, let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Because that's, I mean, for me personally, I'd love to be able to play a storm chasing video game, or board game or card game. I don't know about you, Reed or Seth or Sean, but that sounds fun to me.
The concept for this one too is where you kind of, just like storm chasing, you start off with not much, maybe like, let's say, a $500 vehicle and a certain budget, and you can work your way up to intercepting tornadoes in the Dominator by how successful you are. And this storm chasing game too will be like interpreting real patterns, real forecast patterns too. It won't be kind of like, the half-assed ones that you're playing on social media or with your mobile phone. It'll be like pretty intensive, real-life forecasting, and also based on real patterns too. So I think that's what will make this game pretty cool. But I still like the real thing. I still prefer intercepting tornadoes and going out there storm chasing for real. My mom never let me play video games too much growing up anyway. So.
But in short, just stay tuned, and hopefully there will be an announcement, or more news this year, I guess. It's fair to say. Let's see. What's the most beautiful tornado you've seen, or the most textbook perfect tornado?
Well, the great one thing is that there are no two tornadoes that look the same. So every single one you see is different and kind of beautiful in its own right. And while tornadoes are beautiful, of course, the damage they leave behind is horrible. And as storm chasers, you have to compartmentalize those two, and that's what we're trying to prevent, and warn people against it, is that damage ahead of them. But most beautiful one was probably the Mulvane, Kansas one. Strong EF3 tornado, bright white rope on an LP supercell, and it had rainbows all around it. I think it was dropping softballs north of it too, and the sun was shining in, and had this mothership supercell above it with just a bright white tornado. I mean, it's so illuminated that you'd probably have to wear sunglasses when you're looking at it. I mean, but it was also a damaging tornado too. But thankfully nobody lost their lives in that one. But sadly, people did lose their homes. But that was probably the most photogenic tornado I've ever seen. And also the one up in Canada too, Pipestone, Manitoba, on June 23rd, 2007 was incredible too. Just a massive bright white stovepipe that passes to the south and then was high contrast, a mile-wide wedge, and then we were hammered by horizontal baseball and softball-sized hail and busted out all the windows of the vehicle we were in. So those are a couple of probably most photogenic tornadoes.
Nice. Here's one. It looks like it has a lot of votes, and so we'll go ahead and take this one on. And they're basically saying, they're asking, I noticed that many times when very close to a cell, you lose your live feed. So I'm guessing you are connected to a mobile data plan. Do you use an external antenna, or do you have a suggestion to get a better signal?
Yeah, a lot of times we do lose our signal out there, and I don't know if it's because there's a lot of people trying to make phone calls, or if there's a lot of storm chasers that are converging on that location, each with live streaming video as well. So that maybe bogs down the system or something. But a lot of times our feed does drop, and it's just as frustrating for us as I'm sure it is for you guys, because we want to stream that tornado live. But yeah, we've been experimenting with all different kinds of things. I think we fixed a few of the problems with our live streaming from the Dominator, because we've been using this Teradek system, and it was getting piped to a different direction, and I think that now we're getting it so we can pipe it back to TVN as well, and we fixed some of the problems with that unit as well, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's not that it just goes down when they're getting close to a storm. It's just that it goes down often. So I think maybe they're kind of seeing that correlation, but yeah, I mean, and you're saying there was a lot of issues with I think a signal inside the DOM, correct? With what they're experimenting with.
Yeah, and we do have an external antenna system now on the Dominator, so we're definitely planning on improving drastically our stream for 2015 and on. It's definitely a priority of ours, is delivering a high-quality stream, and we'll make it happen this year. But yeah, with the outer shell, we had some problems with that, and also an amplifier system that we were using, and we were having issues with the electronic power system too, with the Dominator too. I think that was starting to freeze some of our equipment. So we've had all kinds of problems, and isolating exactly what those problems were has been kind of a challenge. But this year we'll be pumping out a high-quality stream.
Mm-hmm. And there's also another thing that can happen. This doesn't happen too often, though, but this can happen with kind of any setup, is when you're in a metro area and there's like a big event, there's pretty much no chance of streaming it usually. It's because, the cell networks can become like maxed out, from people calling their family and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because basically the way the cell networks work is they'll give priority to voice over data, for exactly those kind of scenarios. But yeah, it's not that it's the storms doing it or anything. It's just a matter of the mobile networks in the U.S. just aren't that great. I mean, for one, especially I think like with K4 and stuff, they've been using a bond, which is kind of a piece of equipment that aggregates a whole bunch of cellular modems together. And of course, when you introduce like more complexity, there's always bugs and things that, more things that can go wrong. Oh, is Reed still there?
Oh, did we lose him?
Looks like it.
Well, hopefully we'll get him back here in just a second. But so really you mentioned KFOR, and you know, they're a news station in Oklahoma City, for those of you who don't know, and Reed is working with them to give live field reporting of tornadoes. And one of the things they were most interested in was our live streaming platform. And really, we're starting to see that now, where a lot of news stations, a lot of people who are involved in providing warnings, really want this type of immediate live video information directly from storm chasers in order to convey these warnings and protect people. And really, that's, you know, it's an amazing, you know, compliment for the work, you know, Seth's done with this TVNweather live streaming platform. And thank you to all of you who have supported us and have watched our streams throughout the past years. And you know, we ask you to keep helping us. We have an Indiegogo campaign, for those of you who are just joining us, where we need your help funding our live streaming platform for this year. We don't make any money off of it. We're doing it just to provide content to you and emergency managers, and we support over 200 chasers. And if you've seen our live stream or are interested at all, please visit our website, tvnweather.com, and follow the link to our Indiegogo campaign. And there you can find all different backer levels where you can receive rewards for just supporting our live streaming platform. We want to make sure everyone can see these big events happen in real time. And whatever level you can manage, whether it's $1 all the way through $1,000, we would love your support. So, Seth, I don't know, do you have anything to add? I know that this project's very close to your heart, and you've worked a lot with it.
Yeah, and it basically it looks like Reed was having some technical difficulties. His machine froze, so he's rebooting now, and he should be on soon. But yeah, the live streaming platform, you know, it's important to notice it's not just, we're not the only ones who stream on there. In fact, we're a minority really on there compared to everybody else. And it's this free platform we provide to all these independent chasers, 240 of them right now. And it's a free service that, you know, allows them to share their chases and people to you know, chat with them and communicate with them. And it's, you know, there's all these educational aspects. People have you know, received warning about storms through it. There's been several occasions where people there was no tornado warning and somebody was just watching the live streams, and that was their only warning that there was a tornado near their property or near their place. So yeah, it's a really amazing service, but yeah, it does require a lot of funds to keep it going. So we definitely need you know, your contributions to make that happen.
Fantastic, and our goal is 50,000. Is that correct, Seth?
Yeah, we're trying to raise. The goal of the Indiegogo is 50,000 to basically raise a net of around 40,000 after the fees, all the fees subtracted, and the costs of some of the perks and stuff like that.
Right, and that's something that sometimes people don't realize, you know, with these campaigns, is that the money you raise, you know, that doesn't include the overhead. Indiegogo or Kickstarter, they're going to take their cut, and then on top of that, there's the cost in fulfilling the rewards, and we have some great rewards: T-shirts, hats, you know, a Skype session with Reed, even for the higher level ones. But really, a chunk of that has to go to fulfilling those rewards as well. So. So 40,000 really. So if we raise 50,000, then minus those costs, we'll have $40,000, and that should be enough to support us this year. Isn't that right, Seth?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, we have a budget on there, so you can actually go on there and see the cost breakdown by category. You know, and you'll see, and with descriptions of like what goes into that, so you can get an idea of, you know, we're not just saying it costs this much. I mean, this is really how much we expect it to cost. And we're basing that on our estimate on the fact that our growth rate between 2012 and 2013 was around 350%. So, wow. You know, we don't know if it's going to be the same rate of growth, but we expect it's probably going to be triple digits, you know, most likely. So that's why we're going to need, you know, just so you know, I mean, in 2000, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The difference between I said 2012 to 13. I meant 2013 to 14. But the I think in 2014 it cost, I think it was just a little, it cost around it's around $20,000 was our total cost. So we're expecting to need probably double to make sure we can handle handle that kind of growth, and so that you're able to watch no matter or well, not no matter how many people are on, but when there's an incredible amount of people on.
So Seth, what happens if we don't make our goal? What are some of the consequences for us?
Well, you could, like I said, you could run a streaming service like ours with a single, dedicated server if you wanted to, which, you're probably looking at what that's like. I don't know. I mean, a budget one could be, $100 or to $200 a month. So you could run it on that, but you'd have a limited throughput. So if you have too much traffic all at once and you exceed that throughput, then nobody else can watch. That server becomes overloaded. So you have to really kind of set up a load balanced, setup that can basically spread this load out among a lot of servers. During the peak for 2015, we might have 14, dedicated servers. And not including the origin server that the chasers are publishing to. So, yeah, it's and if we don't have that, there could be scenarios where basically like a big event or something to where you'll try to watch a stream and you just won't be able to. It'll be all capacity will be reached. So we could maybe only 2,000 people will be able to watch, or whatever that number is. Depends on how much we're able to fund. Our the whole system.
So on the big days, basically, there'd be a really good chance that a lot of people wouldn't be able to watch the stream, basically.
Yeah, and that would apply to all streams, because it's not broken out by chaser. It's all running through the same infrastructure. So if the infrastructure hits capacity, then you can't watch any stream. Not just the one with a high amount of views. You'll basically and even if you get in, you're one of the first ones to get in there. You could still run into issues because we're using HTTP-based streaming protocols, and you might be watching one time, but it's gonna make another request, and the next time basically your connection to it might get pushed out.
Wow.
So in effect, we don't want to go over capacity, and so we want to have a buffer room even. So that's another thing too, is that's why we got to have that many servers, because we need to be able to handle the growth we expect, and then also just a little bit of buffer, and we also have a hybrid setup to where if we do exceed our base capacity, we can spin up cloud servers, but of course that's even more expensive. So we definitely don't want to do that. So we want to have this base capacity and try to estimate that, which is kind of hard because it fluctuates over the year. So at one point we'll have a lot of servers, and then we'll take it down to just maybe, at one point, some months we'll just have 3 running, or 4. But that's kind of how it goes. It's kind of hard to.
Right. And our chasers stream everything, right? I mean, it's not just tornadoes on tornado days. They stream blizzards, lake effect snows, monsoons. I mean, so really any kind of major weather event, and even some fires too, I think, one time, right? So really any kind of weather event, our streamers are out there, and you're covered. You can watch from the comfort of your device or computer and just go along on these chases. So it's really an amazing tool.
Yeah, we've had blizzards, major ice storms, hurricanes, typhoons even. There's a team that streamed a typhoon in the Philippines. Wildfires out in California and Southern California. The monsoon chasing, in Arizona and the Southwest. pretty much everything, and of course as well as tornadoes, during core storm season and other times of the year, like just recently, in fact.
So Seth, what is the easiest way to contribute to the project if someone's interested in contributing, whatever they can?
The easiest way is just to simply go to our, you can just go to our website, TVNweather.com, and on our website you'll see like an embedded link or kind of like a widget that it's on the right-hand side, or if you're on a mobile device, it might be kind of towards the middle of the page. And basically, it has the TVNweather live storm chasing. It'll show the kind of the 24% progress where we're at, and you just click on that, and that'll take you to the project page, and then from there you can just contribute whatever you want. And you can use PayPal or credit card. Either way, it doesn't matter. And we do have some perks as well. If you contribute $25, you'll be a listed supporter. So we're going to have a page on our website that's going to show all the supporters. So you get a name and kind of an option like a link to your social media profile or website, and then for $100 you'll be a bronze supporter, and you'll get a T-shirt showing that you're a supporter 2015, as well as the listing, a bronze listing on the website. And then we have silver, which is the next level up. It's $250. You get a T-shirt and a hat, and then you're also listed as a silver supporter on the website. And then we have a gold supporter, which you get a T-shirt, hat, and a hoodie, which is good at this time of year. And you'll also be listed as a gold supporter on the website. And then finally, we have these platinum supporters, and we've had 2 of those claimed. There's only 10 total. And that you get everything I just mentioned, plus a 30-minute one-on-one Skype session with Reed.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So and he's open to just basically talk about anything you want to talk about, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's your time. You're paying for it. So yeah, you can ask him anything.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you've enjoyed the live stream at all, please consider contributing whatever you can to this Indiegogo campaign. And I guess we're still waiting for Reed to come back. Seth, are you receiving any questions that we might be able to answer until he gets back?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Let me find a good one for that we can answer.
We've got me, Ken Cole, and Extreme Storm Chaser, builder of Dominator 3, Sean Schofer, is with us as well. So feel free to ask us any questions.
Maybe you would. Maybe this will be a good question for you, Ken. I'm not sure. Have you thought to use a full spectrum camera to see hard to spot rain? I guess rain band tornadoes. I'm assuming they mean rain wrapped tornadoes, perhaps.
Full spectrum meaning maybe infrared as well. I assume that's what you might mean. That's an interesting idea. I think that gets more into the science side, which I'm very interested in exploring this year with the rest of Team Dominator. From a video production side, we don't run into many of those cameras, but I think on the science side, yeah, any way of seeing or perceiving rain-wrapped tornadoes would be very beneficial. It's probably one of the greatest hazards that we can face is if we need to, for some reason, if we need to keep chasing a rain-wrapped tornado, that's a pretty scary situation. So, if we don't have radar, it would be interesting if there are other instruments we can use to see a tornado or perceive where the tornado is. But really, when you're getting into those rain-wrapped situations, a tornado is visible through its condensation funnel. So, which is essentially moisture, and if it's rain-wrapped, it's really surrounded by moisture anyway. So even in those types of situations, it might be difficult to really even pinpoint where the vortex is. You might need something like a radar that can tell us how the air is moving and see where the strongest winds are. That might be the main way that we could perceive a tornado in that situation.
Okay, here's one. Sean might be able to answer this one. It's what's the most we've ever spent on gas in a week?
In a week? Well, if you're just talking,
maybe you can insert.
I know. Dominator 3 will cost about $300 a day for fuel. So, in a week, well, you can do the math there. So, it's not cheap, especially when you have three of the Dominators out there at once, and then have our follow vehicle.
So potentially thousands of dollars. Yeah.
And in those big chasing campaigns too, I mean, Sean knows this very well. You know, having to go up to Canada and back is, you know, to be in place for an event sometimes requires days of straight driving in itself. So it's not just the cost of chasing on that day. I mean, you have to get to your position, which can be very expensive, and then you have to stay in hotels. So.
Yeah, like for me, for instance, when I'm going to Oklahoma, it's like a 24-hour drive just to get there.
Wow.
And yeah, we put on miles, that's for sure.
It's a good thing that Dominator 3 is a lot more comfortable than Dominator 1 and 2, right? It's better suited for those long drives.
It is, yeah. It's actually, you get in there and you don't even realize you're driving a big tank. It actually feels like you're just in a regular F-350 truck. You don't even, once you get going, you don't even know the difference, actually. But, but we're actually, it's fairly, the fuel mileage is not too bad. It gets better fuel mileage than we predicted. It gets about 16 miles to the gallon, so all in all, it's pretty good. So it gets better fuel mileage than Dominator 1 and 2 get.
So what was the biggest test for D-Theory, do you think, in terms of protecting you?
Well, last year, or the first year it was out, we missed the big week where we missed the Bennington and a few of the other big, and we missed El Reno with it because it was in getting Line-X put on. But last year, well, we got put. He's back.
Welcome back, Reed.
Sorry about that. Good heavens, yeah, my computer's a little bogged down these days, so I have to reload it like 5 times over and over again, then it pops back up. So. Sorry about that. I think I was talking for about 5 or 10 minutes before I realized it was out.
Oh, man.
Well, last year, Dominator 3 got put to the test for the Pilger tornadoes. We were in the outside circulation for that. But probably the biggest test for Dominator 3 would be either Edmund, or even bigger than that would be Coleridge. We were, I don't know how far were we from that one. Definitely in the outside circulation, probably about 50 yards from it, right in the inflow jet.
Yeah, I could have hit a pitching wedge into it for sure.
That was probably its biggest test so far, I would say.
Yeah, I was close. Definitely. I mean,
that was much too violent for Dominator 3. We actually even had to back up a little bit on that one.
Yeah, those inflow jets can be pretty intense, especially the tornado like that that's intensifying so rapidly and expanding. I mean, you got the north and south inflow jets going nuts, and the Dominator 3 was anchored right in that northerly inflow jet, just vibrating back and forth. You know, it felt like there was an earthquake going on or something. But thankfully, Sean's leadership skills kept us out of that one. Would have been bad. We get in those situations a lot, but we got them. I wish, yeah, some of the probes too we launched in there too, and yeah, that was definitely a crazy tornado. A lot of those big wedges, those really slow movers, it was kind of like that too. Manchester and one up in Manitoba too was one of those southeasterly moving wedge tornadoes. So they seem to be pretty intense. Kind of have a mind of their own too.
Nice. So Seth, we've got Reed back on. Were there any questions for Reed?
Yeah, there's still a lot. Here's one. What was going through your mind when you lost the probe and camera in the Tornado Chasers episode Overtaken?
Well, I was really fired up at first because we had a fix on the GPS position of that probe at first through the device that we were using. You could track it on your iPhone, and you'd see, so we had a fix on it, and so I thought, we actually were going to find the probe. So I was really fired up after that, and we saw Jeff Petrowski there, who's one of my idols in storm chasing, and we were trying to find it together. He had some quadcopter that he had built at the time, and then when we came up and we looked down and saw just a tracker there and disconnected from the probe. I mean, it's it's a feeling that's becoming all too familiar, I think, with recovering these probes or finding probes where something went wrong. And I think that it's from this year and beyond, I think when we recover these probes, they're going to be working and the data will be valid that we get pulled off, because we've wasted way too many resources on these things. And we're deploying them inside tornadoes. That's not the problem. The problem is recovering them and extracting valid data. It's a work in progress.
What was the biggest tornado you saw in 2014?
Definitely the Coleridge tornado that Sean was just talking about, for sure. Yeah, I think it was a monster. It's an EF3 tornado, but probably would have been rated, EF4, EF5, if it had hit something, and thankfully it didn't. Would have been really bad.
And here's one that asks, are we ever going to, or when will you release the TVNweather app to Android? The answer to that is we already have, back last year. And then the other part of that was, will it be released on Windows 8? We don't have any plans for Windows 8 yet, but I'm not going to rule it out. But I noticed the Windows Phone platform's starting to pick up a little bit of steam. It's still a distant third, compared to the other two platforms. But yeah, we'll keep that open. But yeah, the Android's already been released. It's been out there for a while, so you can go get that. Just search on Google Play. Just search TVNweather or Live Storm Chasing. Either one, you should find it.
Nice. That's an amazing feature too. That basically you can watch these live streams anywhere, as long as you have your device. It's pretty amazing. So help us out, guys, if you can.
It's fun, even when you're out there in the field watching other tornadoes touch down. I'll be there with my smartphone too, watching the tornadoes touch down in the field. You'll have another live feed over here, and it's a tool that we use when we're storm chasing too out there. So if we know that a wall cloud's starting to rotate and starting to look good on somebody else's stream, we might hit the gas pedal a little harder to get there.
And there are a lot of Tornado Chasers new season this year type questions, and we talked about that earlier, and we're working on ideas, and we're the gears are turning, but it's definitely too early to say anything about that right now. We don't want to. It's just too preliminary. But we will announce something when we get there. But right now it's too early to say, right?
Oh yeah, I was going to say thank you guys too. It's it's really heartwarming to know that you enjoyed the series, and it means a lot. And so we'll keep you updated with any news.
It's like some sun coming in down there, Ken. How's the weather in Oklahoma right now?
Very very sunny, but cold. So yeah, I've got the window open. I don't want to close the windows yet because the lighting situation's strange. But
getting a little greenhouse action going there too, trying to save on some energy usage.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, it's getting blazing in here naturally. So
yeah. That's good. I learned that from watching the Weather Channel this morning. One thing you could do is leave your window open in the morning and let it heat up a little bit. Save on some energy.
That's awesome. I wonder, if like weather fans who are young watch the Weather Channel as much as we did back in the day. I know when I was young, I could watch for 4 to 6 hours a day. I just loved watching the Weather Channel. You're probably the same way too, right, Reed?
Yeah, definitely. I was watching it all the time back then. I think, it's not quite the same as it used to be back then. I used to love the local forecast songs, and it just had a seriousness about it back then that I think is missing a little bit. But just kind of a simplicity that I like, but it could just be what you're used to as well. But it looks like I'd be heading back to Oklahoma early night. Well, first to turn in the dissertation on Monday, but I'm hearing noise of maybe another winter storm that might be heading that way. Channel 4, might need Dominator 4 in the field on Tuesday. So, you heard anything about that, Ken?
Not from KFOR, but yeah, it does look like maybe your services might be needed because you chase everything, don't you, for KFOR?
Yeah. I mean, if there's something that's happening in the Oklahoma City area, and if there's severe weather there, Dominator 4 will be all over it. Unless there's more severe weather. It can be if it's going to be bad, we're going to be there all over it, streaming live. Winter weather too, I guess is what you're asking. So yeah, I do freezing rain, sleet, 33 in rain as well. I stream a lot of that. Did like 14 hours of coverage of 33 in rain recently. But if it had been just a few degrees colder, it would have been really ugly there. But with this El Nino pattern, we get a lot of ice storms too down in Oklahoma. So it's kind of a way to pass the time in the winter, but we know that in the spring we'll be ready to go. If there's severe weather, tornadoes coming through Oklahoma, tune into Channel 4. We'll be all over it.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite state to chase in, and also your least favorite as well?
There's not really too many least favorites. I think everything kind of has its own challenges. I actually like chasing out east where there's a lot of trees and everything because it's just a little bit more of a challenge. There are a lot of times more storms, more potential targets further east. But my favorite state to chase in is probably in the Dakotas, North or South Dakota. Also like the Canadian prairies too. But I like chasing out east as well, east of the Mississippi. I mean, you need more spotters out there as well, further east. But I love chasing out east and in exotic different locations too. Like when we were down in Argentina a few years ago, I'd love to go back down there and chase tornadoes that spin the opposite direction. I love chasing lake effect. Chasing in Buffalo is really fun. Getting to know some of the local people there, and it was still funny. Even when there was 8 feet of snow, they're like, "Oh no, we're used to this," and there's like these huge snow piles everywhere. But realistically, it's impossible to get used to 8 or 9 feet of snow that falls in a 1 to 2 day period.
All right. Here's a pretty random question, but I guess we'll take it. How many times have you been near Grinnell, Iowa?
I think quite a few times. That town does sound familiar. If you're a town and you're in Tornado Alley, we've been close to there several times.
How do you pass time when you're not chasing?
Editing chase video from the last chase, or looking at models, or I'm still writing my dissertation now. Hoping to put that behind me, turning it in on Monday here finally, believe it or not. And then we do a lot of things like this too. We do a lot of work in the off season. Too bad we chase pretty much year round too. We're going after blizzards, lake effect snowstorms, hurricanes. I mean, there's pretty much, it's rare to have a multi-week period where there aren't storms to chase.
And your dissertation too, right? That's almost done.
Yeah, that's almost done too. Yeah, we're getting there. It's close. I mean, it's going to be it's probably a couple hundred pages long now, 250 or 300 pages, and working on kind of shortening down some of the concluding chapters now. But it'll definitely be getting turned in on Monday, actually. So should have happened a long time ago, but.
So, Reed, for this current Indiegogo campaign for the live streaming platform, we're obviously asking everyone to back the project and help us out. It's an amazing platform. Can you give us a little bit of a history of the live streaming phenomenon, like when it started and where we are now?
I think people really started live streaming back in 2005 and 2006. I remember Severe Studios was coming out back then, and we launched a live streaming platform too, just for a couple of chasers for our main chase vehicles. And we added Stream Thunder and a couple other storm chasing teams back then to our platform, and just gradually expanded it. But it really didn't get taken to the next level until Seth came on board, and added all the mobile applications and everything. And then we really, this was at about 2011, I think, after Storm Chasers. We met with Seth and you, Ken, and we really launched TVNweather.com, and that's when we let it rip on the live streaming platform, and now we're up to 240 chasers. Seth's got apps going on all kinds of iPhones, Google Androids, iPads, you name it out there. You can watch the live stream, and on the computer as well. And we're hoping to take it to the next level in 2015, and we need your help to make that happen. We'd like to add some drones, streaming live video out there, and all kinds of stuff for 2015 and beyond. And just to continue support server costs and all that, it's not free. And one thing about TVN is it wouldn't be possible if it weren't for our supporters, and we need your help in 2015 so we can accomplish our goals and make the ultimate live streaming storm chasing experience for you guys.
Nice. Yeah, here's a, I don't know, maybe a controversial, I don't know, definitely maybe politicized a little bit, but here's one. Do you believe in global warming?
Definitely. I mean, I think global warming is fact out there, as a global scale. I think it's important to know that global warming is a planetary phenomenon too, and so, you get a lot of these people that wake up and, you see snow on the ground when there's not supposed to be. They're like, yeah, global warming. Yeah. They think it's not happening, but it's a global scale. And the crazy thing is that even this last winter, with the polar vortex going nuts in the eastern U.S., just the Arctic blast the whole entire time, as a whole, I think it was the warmest year on record for a global average. So just because it's cold, in the eastern U.S., it doesn't mean that there's not global warming. But I also don't know if the impacts are going to be that as catastrophic as people think, or if we'll be able to slow it down. I think that those are the big questions: is how bad, what are the ramifications going to be, and there's all different kinds of scenarios. But global warming is definitely happening. The ice caps are shrinking, and just to preserve those habitats and breathe in clean air, I think it's important to try to limit the release of CFCs and greenhouse gases out there. But if it makes things more extreme with more storms, we'll be out there to chase them. So.
Yeah, and it might not seem like it here, but there's other places that are definitely getting a lot hotter, like Australia, and other areas of the world, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, you guys? Sean, I've never heard your outlook on global warming. I guess it's hard to believe in that phenomenon.
I don't have a lot to say about global warming. All I can tell you, there's no global warming in Canada. They're not Saskatchewan right now, -40. That's about all I have to say about it.
It probably would have been like -45 right now if you didn't have global warming. So maybe you're getting
Okay.
Yeah, what is it? 90% of the United States today is sometime during the day is experiencing a below freezing temperature, something like that. So it's a cold day today, but might not be that way across the whole planet. So.
Yeah. Ken, you always make such great points like that too. You have such a great knowledge base.
Oh yeah, thank you, but
yeah.
I do what I can. No, Reed's definitely the expert. Your PhD is going to be in climate, so it's a really good perspective to have on the whole global warming issue, because it is controversial.
I researched those more on the monthly to seasonal time scales, though, so I'm pretty drama free.
Here's one. Do you take extra duct tape with you on chases?
No, but if there's duct tape to be used, we'll find a good use for it. Gorilla tape, I think, is one that we use a lot too. That's some pretty good stuff. So.
Perhaps they're alluding to the Overtaken episode where your famous line of we need more duct tape or whatever it was. Yeah.
The fact that we needed duct tape in that instance is probably a little scary too. Gotta improve some of our methods. It's Connor's fault. He should have had it ready to go. He's always got to have a roll of duct tape ready. And he forgot too, because Sean and I went on foot to launch the air cannon, and then we asked Connor to come pick us up, and he forgot actually. And so once we realized that, Sean and I had to sprint full speed into about 120 mile an hour easterly wind to get back to the vehicles. But Sean said he almost had the big one that moment. And
it was very close. That was also the last day I ever chased in flip-flops. That'll never happen again.
They're still out there, right? Buried in the mud? Did you leave them behind?
Had to outrun a tornado on bare feet on the gravel road. Not fun.
Yeah, and you're digging some gravel out of your sinuses too, I heard there.
Actually, I was getting little stones and gravel out of my sinuses for about 3 days after that.
That's good. That's what they serve their purpose. Your nose is supposed to filter out things like that, so they don't go into your lungs and stuff. So I'm always happy when I, torque out a good thing of dirt. It means that my nose is working and serving its purpose. That's why I grow my nose hairs so long. I don't trim them during storm season because it's so dusty in the Dominator. I gotta have something that filters them out.
Yeah, wasn't there? I think there was an episode in 2012 of Tornado Chasers that the opening was focused on your nose hairs.
Yeah. Well, they're more. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not the kind of guy that really concerns myself with grooming too much. You know, I mean, you know, there are and the people that were, I guess that they're more concerned with that, you know, in the morning. But I'm more focused on nailing that forecast, you know, than trimming my nose hairs.
What does Maria think?
They're trimmed now.
Wow.
She didn't see them, thankfully. I mean, they get a little long, but she's pretty easygoing, I think. But yeah, I keep them manicured now. I mean, you have to. But when storm season comes around, you know, I'll grow them out. Got to grow out my eyebrows too to keep the dust out of my eyes. So I'll try to grow in a unibrow all the way across. Like all the dust just gets captured up there instead of going into my eyes.
Hey, we've almost hit the 2-hour mark. We might want to wrap it up here. Or do you think, Seth? What do you think? Can we field 1 or 2 more questions? Or
I thought we were going 24 hours. I mean, that's what
we got to save those. We got to save those for a few days from now.
Ken's going to be on for the next 22 hours, and then we'll pick it up again after that, right, Ken?
Maybe. Yeah. Well, we might wrap it up for now. Seth,
here's a question. I guess here's one for Sean. Interested in the Canadian storm chases. How do they differ from U.S. chases?
That Coriolis force is stronger up there, I heard.
Well, we get some very severe storms up here, but in terms of how they're different from the storms in the U.S., I think in Saskatchewan we get about on average about 25 tornadoes a year. Last year we had much less than that, but definitely it seems like the larger storms are in the U.S., but it's not necessarily true always. As Reed knows, one of the biggest ones he's ever seen was in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
The Eli.
It almost seems like they're bigger in size visually to the storms when you're in Canada, but I think it's because there's probably less haze and everything too. But they definitely appear more majestic. I think it's almost like kind of like the storms that we saw down in Argentina too, and you don't have all the haze and pollution, you know, all the bright colors and everything, and they're so vivid and majestic. And you know, the Canada season, when it's going on all cylinders, it's extremely active up there, and you can get some really strong tornadoes. I mean, the strongest I've ever seen. We're up there. 2007 was one, and it was the day after the first F5 in Canadian history. The Eli Manitoba tornado was the first F5, and we saw a mile-wide tornado the day after that. That was much less publicized, but if it had hit something, and thankfully it didn't, it might have even gotten a higher rating.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us on this Google Hangout. As a reminder, we're doing this Indiegogo campaign to fund the live streaming platform, which is an amazing platform. Reed's talked a lot about it today, and Seth's explained more of the technical side. And if you can, please consider backing the project. Any amount that you can spare. You can see the link to the Indiegogo project at TVNweather.com. And is there anything else you guys want to mention about the live streaming project?
Well, I think that this is the first in a series of podcasts that we're going to do to build momentum for our Indiegogo campaign for the live platform. So we're just getting warmed up on this new platform for our podcast. Seth and I have been exchanging a couple preliminary names, so it might be kind of cool for you that have watched this first podcast to tweet us and post on Facebook some prospective names and titles that we could have for this new podcast. We're going to have all different kinds of guests, too. We'll have Kevin on here to talk about building the vehicle. We'll have Todd and Ray on here to talk about the quadcopters. We'll talk about the probes, the science side. We'll just have special guests, and hopefully this will be the beginning of something good. Yeah, but your help is much appreciated, guys, on the live platform. So let it rip.
And actually, I think Todd actually posted a question on here where he's, I guess he's built a new quadcopter. or at least some kind of aerial vehicle. He's one.
Yeah, he sent me a text with the new one that he's built. It looks pretty awesome. So, and he's going to be streaming too the snow event, I guess, up in Southwest Michigan too. So he said he was going to connect with you, Seth, on getting set up there. So that's cool.
Yeah, if everybody on here, I mean, if you haven't contributed, make sure you do when you get off here. I mean, you know, even if it's just $1, you know, that's, I mean, think about it, that's like nothing, you know, a month, you know.
You get a can of Coke for that. You get a can of Coke for $1, right? So.
Yeah, or you know, and if you can do $5 or even $25, you know, all the better. But you know, do whatever you can do. I mean, try to do at least $1. You know, it's if everybody did $1 who watches our live streams would have it funded, you know, almost immediately, you know. But anyway, just do what you can do and help us out and keep this platform going for another year.
Thanks, guys, and remember those 3 words too: never stop chasing.
Never stop chasing.
Never stop chasing.
Never stop chasing. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.